You're weak. You'll stay here and freeze, never finding out about my betrayal. Your business, your empire, they're mine now.
It was the kind of cold that bites through your coat, your skin, your bones. Snow whipped across the yard in thick sheets, and I stood there, locked out of my own house, hands shaking not from the cold, but from what I had just heard. Through the fogged-up kitchen window, I saw them. Madison, my wife of 7 years, was standing inside, warm, smug, surrounded by her family like it was some damn holiday party. Her sister Becky was laughing so hard she spilled wine on the carpet. Her mother, Judith, pointed at me through the glass like I was a stray mutt. Then Madison leaned forward, her smile wide and vile, and mouthed the words that still punch my lungs every time I remember them. Freeze to death, worthless idiot. And they all laughed. No context. No warning. Just a locked door and a hurricane of humiliation. I didn't pound on the door. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why. I just stood there, watching the woman I gave everything to, watching her eyes gleam like she'd finally won something. And in that moment, something inside me snapped in a way that didn't make a sound but echoed for miles in my soul. I turned and walked away. The snow swallowed my footsteps behind me as I made it down the street, my breath fogging the air like smoke from a fire that was finally burning out. My phone was in the car, glove compartment, off. I didn't care. I didn't even feel the cold anymore. I walked until I couldn't hear their laughter. Until the house that held my memories, our memories, was just a glowing box in a blizzard behind me. I stayed with my buddy Chris that night. He didn't ask questions. Just handed me a blanket and a whiskey and let me sit in silence. I must have looked like hell, snow in my hair, lips cracked, face pale. But I didn't speak a word. 3 days passed. No calls. No apologies. No explanations. I didn't check my phone. I didn't want to know. I couldn't even process what had happened. It felt like a dream written by someone who hated me. But on the third morning, I turned my phone on. 47 messages. The first one read, "Babe, please come back." It was just a joke. A joke? Second one, "We didn't think you'd actually leave." Third, "Please answer." I didn't mean it. I swear. By the 10th message, the tone changed. Panic. Desperation. Voice notes from Madison, crying hysterically. Text from her dad, who'd never liked me, now saying, "You have to talk to her. She's losing her mind." Her mom. Her sister. Even Becky, who once said I was too boring for Madison, now begging me to at least listen. I didn't. Not yet. Because here's what they didn't know. Locking me out wasn't their first betrayal. It was just the loudest. You see, for weeks before the snowstorm, things had been off. Madison was always too tired. She started showering at weird hours, late at night. She got defensive when I touched her phone. She stopped wearing her wedding ring, saying it didn't match her outfits. But I never imagined this. That night, locked out of my own home, I felt it in my gut. This wasn't random. This wasn't a bad joke. This was something deeper, something meaner. She wanted me gone. And still, I didn't reply to a single message. Instead, I started digging. I logged into our shared cloud account, something I hadn't done in months. Madison always said she deleted photos because her phone had too many selfies. What I found was a folder named Fitness Progress. Inside, photos of her in lacy outfits, mirror shots in hotel rooms I'd never seen, with wine glasses and beds in the background. And in one of them, a man's arm around her waist. Strong. Tan. Tattooed. Definitely not mine. Another shot, her in a tight red dress, tongue out, fingers flashing a peace sign, sitting on the lap of that same man while Becky leaned and laughing in the background. And then it hit me. They knew. Her whole family knew. And they still locked me out into a goddamn snowstorm like I was trash. The rage came back hard. But this time, I didn't break. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I made a plan. Because the next time I walked into that house, it wouldn't be as Madison's husband. It would be as something much colder than the storm. 3 days had passed since they laughed in my face and locked me out in a blizzard. And now, 47 messages later, I had names. Faces. Evidence. The man in the pictures? His name was Tyler Grant. Found him in seconds. His Instagram was wide open, like he was proud of it. Personal trainer. Mindset coach. Drives a matte black Jeep. The kind of guy who says things like grind now, shine later, while flexing in front of a mirror. And there she was, my wife, tangled up in his comments. Proud of you, flexed biceps. Best trainer ever, fire. Can't wait for next session, smirking face. I guess sessions now meant hotel rooms and candlelight. She told me she hated gyms. I didn't cry. Not yet. I couldn't. It felt too surreal, too far removed from the woman I married. Madison used to dance in the kitchen at 7 a.m. She used to leave notes in my lunch like, "You're my home." Now she was riding around in some roided-out idiot's Jeep while her family toasted to my misery. I didn't just find photos. There were videos. Some short clips saved automatically to the cloud, probably by mistake. One of them was shot from a low angle, Madison giggling on a bed, Tyler holding the phone, saying, "Say hi to your boring husband." She smiled wide and waved, "Hey baby, hope you're home doing spreadsheets while I'm getting a real workout." Then she laughed. The same laugh I used to think was the sound of heaven. I sat in Chris's garage for what felt like hours, watching that video again and again, trying to feel something beyond shock. Rage buzzed in the background, sure. But mostly, it was clarity. You don't come back from that. You don't forgive it. You destroy it. I wasn't planning revenge, not yet. I was planning freedom. But first, I needed to see how deep the rabbit hole went. Madison had always been careful with her phone. But her Apple ID was the same one we used for family sharing. And guess what? She never logged out of our shared calendar. That's how I knew she had a yoga retreat booked for next weekend. And the hotel? It wasn't even a retreat center. Just a downtown Marriott. I called the hotel, pretending to confirm a dual booking for Madison and Tyler Grant. Sure, the receptionist said. They've got a couple suite for Friday and Saturday. My hand clenched so hard on the phone it left crescent-shaped dents in my palm. Couple suite? She wasn't even hiding it. Not from them. Not from the world. Just from me. But the part that broke me wasn't the affair. It wasn't even the betrayal. It was the performance. I replayed the text she'd sent after the storm. "You scared me. You didn't answer. I thought something happened to you. Please talk to me. I miss you so much. I can't sleep without you. You left us. Why would you walk away like that?" I left them? That was the moment I truly understood what she was. This wasn't just cheating. This was cruelty wrapped in mascara and perfume. This was years of manipulation I'd mistaken for being a strong woman. This was a family that smiled to my face while raising glasses behind my back. I opened my laptop and began downloading every file, every message, every image. I made backups. I labeled folders. I organized by date. Not because I planned to expose her. Not yet. Because I wanted to remember. To feel this. To make sure I never doubted my next move. The last file I opened was a voice memo she recorded, probably for Tyler. I recognized the breathy tone she used when she wanted to sound submissive and sexy. "I can't believe I ever married him. He's like a puppy, always waiting for a pat on the head. I need a man, not a winner. This weekend's gonna be amazing. Just you and me. No dead weight. Dead weight." She used to say I was her anchor. Now I was something to be cut loose so she could drift off to whatever real man she found on the internet. I sat in silence, staring at the screen. That was the night I stopped being her husband and started becoming something else. To be the time I saw her again, I wasn't the same man she'd thrown out into the snow. I wasn't the husband who tiptoed around her moods, who tried to fix what she kept breaking. I was calm, cold, calculated. 3 days of silence had her spinning. The 47 messages were only the start. Then came the calls. Then her sister Becky messaging Chris. Then her father, texting me, "Let's be adults about this." I waited until Monday night. She didn't know I still had access to the smart lock app. She changed the code, but never disconnected my email. Classic Madison. Arrogant. Sloppy. So when I stepped inside our house at 9:43 p.m., the same house I was locked out of during a blizzard, the same house where they mocked me through glass like I was a joke, I didn't knock. I opened the door and walked in like I owned the place. Because I still did. She was in the kitchen in leggings and a sports bra, scrolling her phone and eating Greek yogurt. Her mouth dropped open like she'd seen a ghost. "Oh my God, Daniel, what the hell are you doing here?" Her voice was sharp, not scared. Defensive. That told me everything. No guilt. No regret. Just panic that her game might be over. "Nice to see you too, Maddie," I said, dropping my coat on the floor. I looked around. Nothing had changed. Same scent diffusers, same bowls, same fridge magnets with stupid quotes like, "Love is messy but worth it." She crossed her arms. "You can't just walk in here." I raised an eyebrow. "Why not? My name's still on the deed." Madison stepped back, eyes flickering like a cornered animal. I was going to explain. "No, you weren't." Silence. I pulled out my phone, opened the folder I labeled her truth. Swiped once. Then again. A still image of her in Tyler's lap, her hand halfway down his chest, lit up the screen. Her face drained. I can explain, she said again. Her voice was soft now. Sweet. Snake sweet. No, Maddie. You're going to listen. For once in your life, you're going to shut your damn mouth and listen. She opened it again to speak, but I slammed the phone on the kitchen island. Who's the worthless idiot now? I said quietly. She flinched. I didn't shout. I didn't lose control. I wanted her to feel every syllable. I wanted her to know this wasn't some tantrum. This was me waking up. You locked me out in a snowstorm while laughing through the window. With your whole pathetic family. Like I was nothing. You remember that? I thought you were being dramatic. Oh, don't worry. I'll show you dramatic. I've got the texts. The videos. The hotel booking. The voice memos. She went still. I leaned forward. You know what's crazy, Maddie? It's not that you cheated. It's not even that you lied. It's that you wanted me to suffer. You wanted me to freeze. You laughed at me. I didn't mean it like that. You called me dead weight. Her jaw trembled. I gave you everything, I said. The house. The car. Support through every fake crisis you had. Therapy when your mom said you were fragile. Vacations you complained were too boring. And you repay me with this? I was lonely, eh? No. You were bored. And you don't fix boredom with betrayal. You fix it with honesty. But that's a language you've never learned. Her expression shifted again, back to that mask. Cold. Arrogant. So what? You came back to cry? To beg? You think you're the victim now? I laughed. I actually laughed. No, Madison. I came back to end it. To see your face one last time before I wipe my hands clean. She blinked. You're leaving. No. You are. This house? Mine. Lawyers already drawing the papers. And since you want to play with fire, I hope your new man has a nice couch for you to crash on. Her mouth opened, but I cut her off. Oh, and if you ever think about trashing my name again, just know I've got more receipts than a CVS. I turned to leave, and that's when she screamed it. You'll be nothing without me. I paused in the doorway, slowly turned, and met her eyes. Correction, I said. I was nothing with you. And then I closed the door behind me. The silence was louder than any snowstorm. The door clicked shut behind me like a full stop at the end of a sentence I should have written years ago. The air outside was crisp, cold again, but this time I welcomed it. It didn't sting. It cleared my head. Felt like a baptism, one I earned the hard way. My phone buzzed before I even reached my car. Madison. Calling. Again. I let it ring. Then the text started. The tone was whiplash-inducing. You can't just throw me out like that. You're being cruel. I made a mistake, okay? A single mistake. Come on, Dan. I still love you. Please. I didn't answer. I drove through town like a ghost with skin. Same roads, same buildings, but everything felt different now. Like I'd taken a sledgehammer to the glass walls of my life, and now I was finally breathing fresh air. I parked outside Chris's place and sat in the car for a while. Engine humming. Madison's name still blinking on the screen. 48 messages now. She was unraveling. Good. Chris opened the front door before I even knocked. Well, he said, arms crossed. Judging by that look, I'm guessing she wasn't too thrilled. She tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the villain, I muttered, walking past him and straight to the whiskey. Chris smirked. Classic. You got everything on her? I nodded. Photos, videos, voice notes. Enough to sink her. You gonna go nuclear? I stared into the glass, then shook my head. No. I'm not wasting my energy dragging her down. I'm done carrying her in any direction, even to hell. Chris raised his drink. To freedom, then. We drank in silence. But even with the poison gone from my life, the venom lingered in my blood. The next morning, my lawyer called. We'd been preparing this contingency for a while, just in case. Madison never signed a prenup, because back when we got married, she said things like, if we're thinking about divorce now, we'll never make it. What she meant was, if I don't sign anything, I can take half when I ruin you. Too bad the house was in my name. So was the savings account she never had access to. My lawyer already drafted the eviction notice, and by Friday, Madison would legally have 72 hours to pack her Pilates mats and get out. Still, she tried everything. She posted a picture of us on Instagram with the caption, "Fighting for love is hard, but worth it. Blackheart." She called my mother and sobbed about losing herself and falling into temptation. She even showed up at my office, wearing a low-cut blouse, misty-eyed, holding a framed picture of our wedding. I didn't speak. Security escorted her out. Then the real madness began. Tyler messaged me. Yeah, Tyler Grant. The muscle-headed motivational quote machine. His DM said, "Hey man, I didn't know she was married. She told me you guys were separated. I wouldn't have touched her if I knew. Real talk. I'm sorry." I stared at the message. Didn't reply. Just blocked him. Because here's the thing. It wasn't about him. Or the lies. Or the betrayal. It was about the fact that I ignored 1,000 signs for years, all because I loved the idea of Madison. I loved the version of her that made me pancakes on Sundays, not the version that called me boring and snuck off for yoga weekends with her side piece. I loved the girl who used to draw hearts on fogged-up car windows, not the woman who locked me out in a snowstorm and laughed. The grief didn't come all at once. It dripped in slowly, through the cracks in my armor, late at night, when the apartment was too quiet and I remembered the way she used to curl up next to me like I was home. I cried. Not for her. For me. For the man I used to be before she crushed him under 1,000 micro-betrayals. Chris found me one night sitting on the floor with a box of old photos in my lap. "You good?" I looked up and nodded. "Yeah, I think I'm finally grieving the illusion." He sat beside me, looked at a photo of our honeymoon, me in sunglasses, Madison in a straw hat, laughing. It looked real. But then again, so do fake diamonds until you put them under pressure. "I should have seen it sooner," I whispered. Chris nudged me. "Maybe. But you see it now. That's what matters." And he was right. The next day, I deleted every photo of her from my phone. Every memory I didn't want to keep, I burned it to ash in a digital purge. And just like that, the silence started to feel peaceful again. By Friday morning, the eviction notice was taped to the front door like a badge of honor. Madison had 72 hours to vacate. No negotiations. No loopholes. No, I left my face cream in the bathroom nonsense. I didn't go back to the house that day. I didn't need to. My lawyer was handling everything. Madison tried texting me one last time. "You're really doing this to me?" To US. Us. The word was a joke now. I didn't respond. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in over 2 years. I booked a solo cabin in the mountains. No Wi-Fi. No cell signal. Just me, the trees, and the kind of silence that doesn't judge. I needed distance, not just from her, but from the version of myself that tolerated her for so long. As I drove away from the city, my mind ran in loops, replaying the night I confronted her. Her face when she realized I had her cornered. The flicker of fear. The scramble for excuses. The venom behind her last words. "You'll be nothing without me." Funny how she used to whisper, "I can't live without you," during pillow talks. Now she was clinging to the ruins she created like a queen guarding a burned-down castle. And yet, there was still a sliver of me, some pathetic, bruised fragment, that wondered if I was doing the right thing. What if I was throwing away years of history? What if there was something left to save? But that voice didn't last long. Because history isn't worth preserving when it's written in lies. At the cabin, I cooked for myself. I chopped firewood. I drank coffee as the mist curled between the trees. And in that stillness, I finally let the truth land in my chest like a boulder. She never loved me the way I loved her. She loved what I gave her: stability, status, structure. But me? I was a role to her. A part in her performance. The good husband. The reliable one. The one she could count on to clean up the mess while she snuck around creating it. I started writing it all out, not for revenge, not for anyone else. Just for me. Page after page. Not just about Madison, but about myself. The warning signs I ignored. The way I shrank myself to keep the peace. The way I convinced myself that disrespect was just her being stressed. I wrote about how she twisted my kindness into weakness. How she mocked my routines but benefited from every one of them. How she kept me small, so she could feel big. By the second night in the cabin, something shifted. I looked in the mirror, and for the first time in years, I saw a man who wasn't begging to be chosen. I was choosing myself. The next morning, I got a text from her sister Becky. "Hey, just so you know, Madison's been telling everyone you hit her." My blood went cold. That wasn't just drama. That was dangerous. I called my lawyer immediately. He already had the foresight to install indoor cameras 6 months ago, when Madison began acting volatile and erratic. "Let them talk," he said calmly. "We've got a solid record. She won't get away with anything." Still, the fact that she'd go that low, it shook me. She didn't want me back. She wanted control. And when she couldn't manipulate me with charm or pity, she reached for destruction. That was the moment every doubt in my soul burned away. She was beyond help, beyond repair. I wasn't divorcing a person, I was escaping a storm that dressed itself up as a wife. Back in the city, my lawyer expedited the divorce papers. We filed immediately. No mediation. No chance for negotiation. Everything she had left in the house would be boxed and dropped at her sister's. She still tried to claw back in. Called Chris. Posted cryptic breakup quotes online like, "A real woman walks away with class." But the truth? She didn't walk away. She was kicked out. And I didn't feel guilty. I felt alive. I started running again. Eating better. Sleeping like I hadn't in years. People at work told me I looked sharper, calmer, more in control. I didn't even realize how much of my identity had been dulled under her shadow. For the first time, I wasn't making decisions based on someone else's chaos. I was setting boundaries. I was protecting me. Because that's the thing about betrayal, it doesn't just break your heart. It shatters your reflection. Makes you question if you're weak, if you're the problem. But the real power is choosing to rebuild. And I wasn't rebuilding to impress her. I was rebuilding so the next time someone tried to break me, they'd find steel under the surface. The divorce papers were served on a rainy Wednesday. I wish I could say it was symbolic, the rain, the gray skies, the poetic sadness of it all, but it wasn't. It was just weather. And weather passes. The process was clean, cold, legal. My lawyer delivered them through a third party. I didn't even have to look her in the eye again. She texted me within an hour of receiving them. "So that's it? You're not even going to fight for us?" Fight for what? For the image she burned to the ground? For the life she shattered the moment she laughed behind a window and told me to freeze to death? Worthless idiot? No. I wasn't going to fight for ashes. I didn't reply. Instead, I walked into my favorite coffee shop, sat by the window, and watched the rain roll down the glass. And for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting on a message, wasn't checking her mood, wasn't shrinking my world to fit someone else's storm. I was free. But Madison? She was unraveling. Over the next few weeks, the stories started circulating. First quietly, then louder. Turns out Tyler, the great, real man she threw her marriage away for, had moved on. Fast. According to Becky, who apparently wasn't as loyal to her sister as Madison thought, he had 3 other clients he was training extra closely. Madison had been played. And worse, dumped. Publicly. Becky texted me screenshots from Tyler's story. New girl. Same Jeep. Same caption. Grind hard. Play harder. Poetic justice doesn't always knock. Sometimes it speeds by in a black SUV with someone else in the passenger seat. Then came the fallout. Madison tried to save face. She went on Instagram, posted a picture of herself at some spa, captioned, "Sometimes you have to lose everything to find yourself." Herb. Translation. I gambled, lost, and now I'm pretending it was self-care all along. But behind the filters and captions, she was spiraling. Becky told me she'd been staying on a friend's couch, bouncing between fake job offers and therapy sessions she never finished. Her parents, those same people who clinked glasses while I stood outside in a blizzard, weren't taking her in. They were embarrassed. Funny how quickly people change sides when the cameras turn off. One evening, Chris and I sat on the patio, drinks in hand, watching the sunset over the city. He looked at me and said, "You know, I've never seen you this at peace, man." I nodded, because I'm not walking on eggshells anymore. We both laughed, but it wasn't bitter. It was real. Healing. Because freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers in the quiet. In the way you breathe easier. In the way you smile for no reason. In the way your hands stop shaking when your phone rings. But even freedom has its tests. One night, I got home late. Lights off. Apartment quiet. I went to the kitchen, grabbed a bottle of water, and there she was. Madison, sitting on the floor outside my door. Mascara streaked. Hair wet from rain. "You can't ignore me forever," she said. I stared down at her like I was looking at a stranger. "You need to leave," I said firmly. "I just want to talk." "No," I said. "You want to spin. To guilt me. To rewrite the narrative so you're the victim." Her lip quivered. "I was stupid, Dan. I messed up. I lost everything." I nodded slowly. "Yeah, you did." She reached for my hand. I pulled it away. "You didn't just cheat on me, Madison. You humiliated me. You enjoyed it. That night in the snow? That wasn't a mistake. That was who you are." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't care. I don't hate you," I said quietly. "But I'm done carrying pain that isn't mine." She stood up, swaying. "So that's it? You're just walking away." I opened my door, stepped inside, and looked at her one last time. No, Madison. I already walked away. I just stopped turning around. I shut the door gently, and this time I was on the inside. The rain kept falling, but I was dry. She wasn't. Weeks turned into months. The paperwork was finalized. The divorce was official. Madison Reynolds was no longer my wife, just a name in a file, a chapter closed with a heavy, deliberate hand. Still, the ghost of her lingered in strange places. I'd be walking through a grocery store and smell her old perfume. My stomach would tighten before my brain reminded me, she's gone. I'd hear a laugh that sounded like hers and flinch, just slightly. Trauma echoes even after the storm is past. But day by day, it faded. I wasn't just healing. I was rebuilding. I moved to a new apartment, something smaller, simpler, but full of peace. I got rid of the old bed, donated the couch where we used to sit side by side while she scrolled her phone, pretending to care. I replaced every item that reminded me of her. Not because I was running from the past, but because I no longer needed to prove I was over her. I just was. I started reading again, working out again. Hell, I even joined a cooking class, something Madison used to laugh at me for even considering. You in an apron? Please, she once said. You'd burn water. Turns out I didn't. I made a damn good seared salmon. Freedom tasted like garlic and lemon and the soft silence of a kitchen without judgment. Chris stayed close during it all. One night, over drinks, he asked, "Do you ever regret marrying her?" I thought about it. Did I? Regret implies that I wish I could erase it. But I didn't. Not entirely. I regret ignoring my gut, I finally said. But I don't regret learning the lesson. He nodded. What lesson? That I deserve better. That loving someone doesn't mean tolerating their poison. Because here's the thing no one tells you. When you're with a manipulator, you don't just lose love. You lose yourself. Your voice. Your worth. Your sinner. Madison never hit me. Never screamed. Her weapons were silence, sarcasm, control. She didn't need to break me with fists. She did it with smirks and withholding and public jabs disguised as jokes. I remember a dinner party where she told her friends, "Daniel's great. He does all the boring stuff I don't want to." Everyone laughed. I did too. Back then, I thought being the stable one was my role, my value. I didn't see the knife behind the compliment. Now, I do. I see everything clearly. One afternoon, I got coffee with a mutual friend, Claire, someone who used to be close with both of us. She hadn't picked a side. She didn't need to. We sat outside under a pale blue sky, steam rising from our mugs. "I've been meaning to tell you," she said carefully, "Madison's not doing well." I sipped my coffee, said nothing. She's lost a few jobs. That wellness brand she tried to launch? It tanked. And Tyler? He ghosted her completely. I nodded. Not surprising. Claire hesitated. She asked me to tell you that she's sorry. I raised an eyebrow. Tell me what, exactly? Claire looked down. That she thought she was chasing happiness, but all she did was destroy the one person who actually loved her. The words didn't land the way she probably expected. They didn't sting. They didn't move me. They just floated in the air like dead leaves. That's between her and her mirror, I said. I'm not carrying that. Claire smiled, a little sad. You've changed. I had to. She nodded. Good. You deserve someone who sees you. That night, I wrote something down in my journal. I've been doing that a lot lately. Writing, not out of pain anymore, but reflection. I wrote, love should never feel like survival. Trust should not require silence. And peace should never come at the cost of your self-worth. The next morning, I opened my laptop and deleted the folder titled Her Truth. Not out of forgiveness, out of closure. Because the truth no longer defined her. It defined me. I had faced betrayal, humiliation, public mockery. I had been lied to, laughed at, discarded. And yet, I stood taller now than ever before. Because I walked through hell. And didn't stay there. A year later, I stood in front of the same house she once locked me out of during a blizzard. It was empty now. Madison had moved out long ago. The paint on the porch rail was peeling. The flower beds were overgrown. The lights inside were off. There was no laughter behind the windows. No champagne. No staged betrayal. Just silence. And peace. I wasn't here to reclaim anything. I was here to let go completely. One last thread to cut. I walked around the side, ran my fingers along the cold bricks, and remembered how that house once felt like a fortress. A place where love lived. A future built. Now, it was just a building. She had taken the memories and lit a match under them. But I wasn't here to mourn anymore. I was here to bury the ashes. I left a note taped to the inside of the mailbox. Not for her. For me. It read, "You didn't break me. You freed me." I walked away without looking back. Life didn't become perfect after Madison. That's a lie people tell themselves to rush healing. There were hard days. Lonely ones. Nights I stared at the ceiling and wondered if love would ever feel safe again. But then I remembered something. I was no longer in the business of proving my worth. I didn't need someone to validate me. I didn't need to be chosen. I had already chosen myself, and that decision changed everything. A few months after the divorce, I met someone. No, it wasn't some magical fairy tale rebound. There were no violins, no sparks flying in slow motion. It was simple, quiet, real. Her name was Emily. She didn't try to fix me, didn't ask for explanations I wasn't ready to give. She listened. She let me move at my own pace. And for the first time, I realized love shouldn't feel like a test I had to pass. With her, I didn't feel small. I felt seen. I told her about Madison, not all at once, but over time. And when I did, Emily didn't flinch. She just said, "I'm sorry you went through that, but I'm glad you're here now." And I was. Here. Not stuck in a loop. Not reliving the betrayal. Not wondering what I could have done differently. I stopped asking why Madison did what she did. Some people just carry rot inside them, and no amount of love can bleach it out. It wasn't my job to save her. It was my job to survive her. And I did. So if you're reading this, and you're standing in the ruins of something you thought was real, let me say this. You are not weak for being loyal. You are not stupid for believing in someone. You are not broken because someone didn't know how to love you right. But you are responsible for who you become next. You can become bitter, vengeful, closed off. Or you can become better, wiser, stronger. I chose better. I chose peace. I chose to rise. Because Madison didn't ruin my life. She ended a chapter. And I wrote the rest of the book. Sometimes, I still think about that night. The snowstorm. Her voice behind the glass. Freeze to death, worthless idiot. But it doesn't hurt anymore. Because I didn't freeze. I walked. And every step away from her was a step back toward myself. The final twist? She called again. Months later. Blocked number. New voice, same manipulations. She said she missed me. That she saw me on social media with Emily and felt a deep regret. That she knew what she lost. I didn't hang up. I let her finish. Then I simply said, "Thank you." She paused. For what? For showing me exactly what I'll never accept again. Then I ended the call. This time for good. So here's my last word on it. If someone ever locks you out in the cold, metaphorically or literally, don't beg to be let back in. Don't explain. Don't plead. Don't prove your value to people who treat you like a joke. Walk away. And when you do, walk like a man who knows that the storm doesn't own him. He owns the road beneath his feet.